Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Evolution of Fatherhood. My name is Shane, and I'm here this week to talk to you about sport and how AI is affecting the way we view sport in general. So I've got a couple of guests showing up. They're not here yet, so I'm just a little bit waiting for them to come, but they will. They assure me they're coming. So if they don't, I'm just going to kick on without them, and they will come in. It was one of those weekends where we were. I don't know about you guys, but I'm mourning the the losses on the weekend because, as we're talking about AI in sport, most of you know that I'm from Brisbane, but I've lived in Bali for over 10 years now, and I still follow the old maybe out of programming or whatever. I still have connections with my roots of playing rugby in Australia and following it all the way through. The Brisbane Broncos, the Brisbane Lions, and yeah, both of the teams. I don't know if you know or not, but both of the teams were in the grand final on the weekend, and they both went down in really close matches. So I was just like, it was one of those things where it came up for me. It was like, I actually in the Broncos game, I actually cried. I was like, my gosh, this was like, we were there, we had it, and it was just like, anyway. But it was more, and I want to cover off on a little bit later and about it. But yeah, I'm eager to go on it. So, but yeah, how AI is changing the way we view sport, and it was just a big week in general. I think there was like some sort of big full moon in Aries or something happened in the weekend, and then it led into the October, changing from October to September. And it was just one of those days one of those weekends where everything was a little bit heightened. I don't know if you experienced that or not, but I was really, really busy. Had a lot of people, a lot of meetings on post the grand final. So everything happened on the weekend, and then all week it's just been meeting, and preparing for the big events coming up, and some of them around sport too. With a big bodybuilding championship coming up in November, that's Trip Crafter and myself and the team will be looking after all the AV and all the live streaming and all that sort of stuff. So that's a big event, and we've had meetings this week to put all the teams together and put all the little pieces, getting them into place for that to come. So let me jump into my presentation that I put together for this slide, but it's all relating to sport and how AI is changing the way we view sport. Let me just find it now. It's hiding there for me. And you are where? Okay, so let me just check where it's why I can't see my screen at the moment. Let's sort that down. Introduction, and then I will go back to my Zoom, and then here we go. Like that. So I hope you can see that, because I was just sort of glitchy on me a little bit there while I was putting it together. So, okay, so introduction. This is the Evolution of Fatherhood. My name's Shane. We've got, a little link tree there if you want to find out all about our socials. You can scan that link tree. If you haven't got a link tree account, you should have one by now, because it's one of those tools that sort of expands your ability to reach people. If anybody's looking for something in particular, like your branding or your website or your Facebook group or Instagram account, they can scan the link tree code, and it'll take you straight to there. Big thank you to the founding fathers. We have a group of men that came together to launch this event, and having a group of guys that are looking out for each other, and making sure that that the evolution from AI into the fatherhood, and having the experience and putting our minds together, and this transition into an AI society, where we've all stepped up and just taking a little piece out of each week to focus on AI in its way. It's been far too long that we've already been in existence looking at AI, or AI has been evolving around us, and we've just been scrolling through it or using it without even knowing we're using it. There's no prerequisite to knowing what we're using, but we're using AI. But I think what the founding father and I all agree upon is that AI is here to stay, and that we need to be at least aware of the the AI when we're using it, or that it does come into, that we're coming into contact with it every day, and it makes a lot of sense to me, that we do a lot of that we do a little bit of focus work each week just to get familiar with it. So here we go, broken hearts. We've got the how AI is changing how we view sport, and there's the two grand final teams, and they both went down. And it wasn't like a demoralizing defeats, but it was more that the leading in, like I've been watching sport for 40 years, and knowing where we've come from, like as in like our place, but it's more like around how we are, when we talk about fatherhood, there's a saying that people talk about how, it takes a village to raise a kid, right? But all these sporting events and all these sporting cultures that we buy into, like our kids, and, my son plays basketball here in Bali, but he, he loves football as well, which is soccer in Australia as well. But it's like, when I was growing up, like, that's the things weren't like they are now. Like, we would watch maybe a game on television, if we were lucky, on prime time, on one of the networks, but there wasn't a lot of like sports. And I can remember vividly thinking, oh, I wish I could have watched that game, and I always, you wouldn't always be able to watch the game because it was always, it was too hard to, because they didn't broadcast it. It was like you had to find the games themselves and watch, go and watch them. But I also remember like the village that raised me around those, because I didn't have a lot of people, my parents weren't about going to my games every day. They weren't about playing rugby or had a love for playing football. Maybe later on, like they kind of changed a little bit, but I wasn't brought up around like sport. Like, I remember playing for Baptist church or something like that. And I was just by myself. I didn't have anybody, some group or a bus or somebody would come pick me up from home and take me to the football and then the training, and then would come home again. There was no parents there cheering me on. Now, I don't think I've ever missed the game from my son, and same with my older sons my son's actually, oh, well, I want to make a big announcement too, because my son Jake is turning 30 today. So here I am, here I am living in Bali, and my older son has just turned 30 today. So, I mean, if that's not something to be, very proud of as well. So it sort of gives you, I'm getting all these milestones, like, son turning 30, been watching sport for 40, like understanding it, that this has been, watching him play, because he played hockey, field hockey, since he was very young, and he stayed playing hockey until he was in his late teens, and he started playing cricket and AFL after that. But it was kind of like but the whole village, I remember watching him playing and watching the interactions with him and his team and his coaches and things, and it's kind of like, it's heartwarming, as well as it's one of those things where it's, you think you wish you could have done better, or you think that you sort of judge yourself on the relationships they have with them. And it's kind of like, no, it complements the whole thing, right? So it's as a young man, I know sometimes when you've got young kids and they're playing sport and they're getting all this awesome mentoring from the coaches, it sometimes can be a little bit overwhelming, because there's you take it on yourself as a parent to do as much as you can. And sometimes when somebody else takes the ball up for you, you sort of feel like, you're a little bit insecure about that. Well, at least I did anyway. Maybe it was because I was, pretty young as a father as well. So pretty young now still, but youngish as a father for my older son, Jake. So yeah, so the village does raise the kids, right? So it's more that there's a real attachment to this whole bonding around it, and there's a real bonding sessions that happen in like a group environment. But it's also coming from the culture where I come from, sport has been one of those things that defines a nation. It defines certainly just defines a state, and it defines a location, right? So you sort of village, it's like the warriors come to the field to have the ceremonies to to create stronger alliances and, you know, meet new people, you know, build relationships or build tear relationships down. But there's this whole thing around the village concept around sport. So I was just thinking about that, and I was hoping to have a conversation about that, because I know that my guest was coming in saying all of his teams won this weekend, but we might be caught up with something else. So I must send my apologies for that. Yeah, so it defines us, you know, that you know, we got yeah. I remember one time when I went to my game, and my granddad came to my game, and it was the same game that the Broncos star Steve Renouf, and he was only like 2 years older than me, and he ended up playing for Broncos for like a long time, but he was from the same area where I came from. And Steve Renouf came into my room, and we didn't know Steve Renouf wasn't Steve Renouf then. He was just Steve Renouf, but he was kind of like this 1 year older than us, coming in to give us a pep talk and, you know, say, you know, you guys are doing really well. It's also, you know, not far from, like, it's the next town along from where Selwyn Colbo's from as well. So it's kind of like this this little hub of you know, amazing sportsmen that come from, you know, rugby players, rugby league players that come from that area. So it was in great company. But my grandfather was there, and I remember, because my grandfather was well into his 60s at that point, and he had to drive like an hour and a half just to come to the game, right? It was kind of like I had a lift from the game, because we had like 5 or 6 guys from this country town that took us in every week. But my granddad said, oh, he wanted to come, and I remember it being like a really special event. Like, it was we were playing Cherbourg, and we was like my granddad was standing there sitting there in the front row, and I don't remember seeing him too much from the front from when I was playing, but I remember him sitting in the front of the front row. But he was the only person that up until that point that actually came to one of my games. So it was kind of, there's a freedom that comes with nobody there cheering for you, but there's a you know, a depth of feeling that comes when somebody does show up, and you can see it means a lot to them for them to come. Because I think he was, you know, rugby league was just being, you know, Friday night footy and stuff was just starting to be broadcast on one of the networks. And I think, you know, like State of Origin and all that stuff was not happening yet, but it was starting to happen. So the, you know, Brisbane teams were being invited down to play the Sydney teams, and just on an invite kind of thing. But anyway, so my granddad was there, and I thought, that what an amazing, you know, thing to have my granddad meet the community or the village that was, you know, contributing to me in my athletic, you know, career, and my fun, because I love rugby. Rugby league was one of my, if I was to say what my most enjoyable pastime was when I was in my teens, would be my rugby league. It was so fun. It was really good. Anyway, we made some really good friends at that time as well. You know, it's just, you know, it's one of those things. So let's get into the evolution of fatherhood and the keynote. Okay, we've had enough of story time. There's my 2 teams. Sorry guys, you went down in a big way. What can you do, right? What can you do? Maybe next year, but you know, there's not a good signal after a team has gone down in the grand final. They don't usually do fare well the next year, just on statistics. So be keeping an eye on that. Okay, so an overview of sports and of the sports industry as general, right? So it's a global phenomenon. We've got so many people. You can't leave your home, I don't think, in any country without knowing that there's a sporting occasion on, or even that there's a sporting event that's linked to your community. They're immensely popular form of entertainment and bring people together from all walks of life. It's kind of like the villages come together for the warriors dance or the cultural events. It's just taking over. It's a big part of culture. It's big business. And the sport industry is a multi-million-dollar industry that encompasses various sectors of, including media and advertising and merchandising and more, right? So if you haven't got your team's jersey or whatever, you've probably watched or know somebody that does, right? Like, if you live in Melbourne, your AFL is through the roof. You're bred into a team. then they follow that team, and that's why they get like 50, 60, 70,000 people, maybe even 100. I think it was 100,000 there for their grand final. So just people are just so already enshrined into their teams before they're just born into it. Cultural significance, yeah, sports so have a profound impact on society and culture. It actually, it's like the traffic and a city evolves around the sport. If you've got 100,000 people trying to move in and out of a space, it disrupts the city. So the city has to move around these cultural experiences as well. So there's this impact that happens right around the world with these sporting impacts. So some of the applications of AI in sport, I've done some research for you. So performance analysis, AI-powered tools and analytics are helping coaches and teams gain valuable insights into player and team performance. So these tools help to identify areas of improvement and optimize training sessions to maximize performance. Okay, so they're using AI to manage your staff or your stars or your players or the people, even yourself if you're doing some sort of high level sport. There's AI tools that will help you analyze your performance and give you suggestions how to improve on that. Injury prevention and rehabilitation. So AI-based technologies, and this is all around health as well. So if you can get a scan done that tells you, you've got a percentage of your, cartilage that needs to be repaired, then you can have an actual time off, not wait for the injury to perpetuate and heal yourself before you go into the next round of sporting. So that's what I think we'll see with these multi-million-dollar players, is that they will have the ability to access these AI tools that will be able to help them to be able to identify the problems that they have before they have them, right? Like if they're showing signs of some sort of fatigue or their joint problems, they can actually, say, this is my report and I need to take this time out to do it, right? I mean, this was unheard of back in when we first started watching sport and the way it was going, but it's just the technology that's going to become available. And with the amount of money that people make from sporting events, they will be able to, have the best, AI bots that will be able to help them analyze their game, analyze their body, their structure, and how can fix them, how to prevent injuries, and also help them rehabilitate with their with any injuries that they do succumb to. Okay. So this is a big one. This one will come up later too, the fan engagement, right? So the fan engagement is part of what AI is doing, is that it's setting all the algorithms on your social media platforms, on your advertising, even, the place where you get your news, right, is all based on an algorithm, and it helps to engage with what you want to see as a team, right? Like if you're watching, if you've got a VPN on your computer and you're watching the Channel 9 Now app, right? And you put your VPN on to Brisbane. Say you want your VPN to say, I'm in Brisbane. It just cloaks where your IP address is, so the internet doesn't know where you are. It actually tells the internet that you're in Brisbane, and then all your internet comes through that Brisbane VPN. But the Channel 9 app doesn't know that. So it just says, I can see it's in Brisbane. So then it just starts sending you all Brisbane, like you'll get the Brisbane news, you'll get the Brisbane advertising, you will get, so the algorithms will change with the location that you set, right? So you're getting the information that you want, rather than, you wouldn't be getting the Melbourne, advertisements for, different events happening in Melbourne if you had your VPN set to Brisbane, right? So it's used to enhance the tools so you can engage with your teams. I mean, like I've probably had 4 or 5 different conversations in social media about the Broncos losing, and maybe giving Kevy some like coaching tips. But the thing is that with AI, we're able to do things that we've never been able to do before. We've been able to integrate, and if Kevy wanted to, he could see what I was posting as well. If you knew Kevy's hashtag on Instagram, you could actually tag him in a post as well. And there's a lot of armchair coaches out there, and I can, because I see a lot of them because I'm probably one of them, and it's kind of like you see them so what the fan bases do is it changes the way you experience the whole games of sport. Okay. Even to the point where, I'm sure with Mr. Dan Andrews cancelling the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, there would have been data tools. It kept saying the data didn't stack up, and these were the AI tools, right? These are tools that they have implemented into the way they govern that can predict the outcomes of, costings and, things that were like, what did something cost, say, 2 years ago and use that as the model, and then forecast it for what's going to cost in 2 years' time in advance with inflation and with, the cost of living, and the AI can give you an accurate, detailed output. So the AI helped probably Dan Andrews cancel the Commonwealth Games. Did I say Olympic Games? Sorry, I mean Commonwealth Games in Melbourne. So yeah, that's big news, and so, but that's the way AI is influencing the sporting environment, or how we see sport. Okay. So challenges and limitations in AI in implementation. Okay. So data and quality. So the AI data is only the outcomes, or the AI results are only as good as the data that's being implemented into the source, right? So if whoever's inputting or telling the AI to where it gets its information from will guide how the information is being distributed as a result, right? So as this one, it says, AI is only good as the data it's trained on, right? So one of the biggest challenges in implementing in sport is ensuring the quality and accuracy of data being used, in addition to data privacy. So it's kind of like a way that teams can get it wrong. They can get their data wrong, and then AI tells them to do something. They implement those changes, and they don't get the results because AI, the data that was inputted into the system wasn't correct. Ethical considerations and bias. And AI has the potential to perpetuate and even amplify existing biases. Now, this is what I was talking about, fan bases, right? So if you've already got a radical fan base, like, some hardcore soccer fans, even in Bali, when we you could go to the Balinese, the Bali UFC, Bali United soccer games, and you'll see like 5,000 people just with shirts off, and they're just going crazy, and there's like army, and there's drones and everything flying around, and everything's being recorded, and everything's being, but it's such a big event, because it's part of the culture now, and like the chulik is up on the, doing the Balinese dance. He's up on a big pylon, and it's just amazing. But all the advertising is biased to them, right? So when you go to like, it could tell you, like, if extreme views on things can be easily, leaked into the general public via these AI platforms, right? So if you're getting constantly, that your team is, behind because of the problems that we have, then that's the thing, when your team's getting all these, negative influences, that's what happens. Let me just check here. I've just got a big thumbs up there. Okay, so here we go. And then adoption barriers. There are still significant barriers to widespread implementation in AI in sports. So it is new. We're getting it, how we see sport is changing, and AI is changing it to bring us closer to the, have much amazing more experiences. But we need to be conscious about the way that we are ingesting the information from these events, okay? Because the way it's being marketed to us, and we could be easily mistaken that we're, I don't usually cry at a football game, but I was really enrolled with this one. And I know I've got 40 years of, but it's like, now AI is giving me information, and I can, I can even vent. I can even talk to the coach. I can even, tell him how upset I was with these choices and stuff like that. But it doesn't, it's all suits for me to be feeling more closer to the action, right? I'm getting so close to the action now. I'm really feeling like I'm a part of the change, or a part of the team itself, that I can have some sort of input or some sort of say in how the team is done, as the team is running. Okay, so impact on AI impact of AI on sports. AI-powered analytics and data visualization tools and coaches athletes with unprecedented insights into performance data, enabling them to better decisions and improve their results. Yeah, so it just means that if you can give the AI data that's correct, it can give you, like, I mean, you see in the coach's box now, you don't see a coach ever by himself up in those coaches box, and you might see a secondary coach with the coaches in the coaches box, but what you do see all the time is a data person. There's somebody who's sitting there with their laptop open and they're collecting data the whole time. They might be taking data from the event, but they're also mixing that data into post event. So they're sort of like giving you a forecast with the data that's coming in real time. So they're just as important as the coach, because they give the coach the information to be able to do this, to make the decisions on how to do his execute his plan of attack or plan of winning the game. And enhanced fan base experience, chatbots and virtual assistants are helping fans to stay engaged and more informed and more misinformed, because it comes in both ways, because AI doesn't decipher. It will just give you the information that is being inputted into it. It's fostering deeper emotional connections to favorite sports teams. Yeah, there you go. My tears of loss. And the evolution of coaching and training methods. So in the box, you've got the guy that's the data collector that's always in the box with, and it's just probably happened for a long time. For the last 30 years, we've been collecting data from events, but we haven't done it in a way that's using AI to be able to input it and get an output straight away. It takes time with humans. Humans take time to be able to analyze the data, but they don't always get it right either. Human error is a big factor into it as well. Okay, so future trends and opportunities. This is good fun, because predictive analysts, we can use the predictive analysts to expect it to become more and more widespread in sport. So the sports betting and all that sort of stuff, if that didn't have an AI aspect to it, where it's already crunching the data and giving them the percentages of your losses or wins, that's what is AI is giving them the advantage. Now, if you had an AI machine on the other side, analyzing the odds and giving you feedback on the odds, which some people do, then it'd be more even. But if you're just a regular person that's betting on their heart and soul, because they're following their team, or they're trying to follow the horse or whatever that they want to bet on, it's stacked against you even more now than it ever was before, because you've got an AI champion at the back of all these apps that are only putting out the odds for them to win, or them to get the best results for that company, not for you, right? So you already got the stacks, the stacks, but you probably already know all that stuff about AI and how it's it's not fair. And that's why you probably see on I know because I'm in Indonesia and I watch something from Australia, especially with sport. There's so many sporting betting apps that come on during the events, and also you see that they have an advertisement at the back of it from the government have changed regulation or changed legislation to say that after these advertisements, these betting advertisements, that they have to play you might lose some, but you might win some, but you might lose more. You will lose more, or these stern statements that are at the end of every gambling betting video advertisement. So yeah. Personalized fan experiences. Yeah, we kind of covered this before. Like you will be able to, reach your team more than you ever have before. Like before, you would be able to, wait until game day before you actually saw them, but now you can sort of get an update on your favorite player. You can follow him on Instagram. You can see what he's posting. You can see what his families are doing. You can see what he's been doing all week as far as charity work, what mood he's in, what is the other media saying about your player. You can sort of see how the media is trying to influence your player and all that as well. So you get this real, it's more than just watching the game and seeing somebody perform. It's like you're getting this whole enshrined in culture thing that's happening to you, and you're there to kick the goal with them, right? Because you're feeling like you're part of that algorithm that's being delivered to you, and on a personal level. Okay, so that's about it. I wanted to cover all that stuff. I'm sorry about my guests this week. I'm doing good. I'm like nearly too far. Thank you, Zolti, for coming on the week before. But yeah, I know what it's like out there. I may even change the timing, because I think 6 p.m. is probably a better time for different countries. But I know now that you guys are, like, Australians are in they're in their daylight savings mode, so they don't have so it's very, very late for, you know, it's more late for them now than what it was before, because of the, you know, because of the daylight savings. I saw it the other day, there was like 5 or 6 different like time zones in Australia. Australia must have the weirdest time zone like areas, because, you know, when you look at Europe, they've kind of got them segregated quite clearly, but in Australia, you've got like 5 or 6 different, and they're pretty close together. Like, I mean, like, it's in locationally, but it's like 30 minutes here, and like Adelaide and Melbourne and New South Wales are a certain time. I'm sorry, Melbourne and New South Wales. Sorry, Victoria and New South Wales are in some certain time, and then my AI watch is talking to me. Yeah, so anyway, next week we will have some more guests. We may have changed the time by then, but I think most of you just watched the recording anyway. Give me some feedback, let me know what's going on, let me know how your team did on the weekend, and we'll get to have a conversation about it. But Broncos forever, I'm sorry, that's what I've been brought up as, and that's what I did. And you know, we had a great team, we had a great year. We came second in the minor premiership, which I think we should have went for the full. We should have went for the premiership, minor premiership too, and then we've come second in the premiership. So, you know, it's 2-2. We should be happy, right? But, you know, on the day, you know, it was tears anyway. All right, see you later, and look out for these events coming up for Tripcrafter too. I'll post them in my social medias, and if you're in Bali, come to the I Compete Natural bodybuilding championship in November. It's on the 11th and 12th of November too. So we will be out there doing that. You'll be able to see us and have a conversation with me as well. Anyway, until next week, I will see you then. Bye.